Is that the end?
Code, Power, and Betrayal. The Rise of Facebook. A gripping, true-to-life story of ambition, friendship, and betrayal. Follow Mark Zuckerberg's journey from a Harvard dorm room to building a global empire, facing lawsuits, broken friendships, and the relentless pursuit of success. A tale of vision, risk, and the human cost of creating history. The social code. What if the biggest empire of the 21st century started with nothing but anger, jealousy, and a keyboard? People love to believe that billion-dollar companies are born in shiny boardrooms, surrounded by men in suits, sipping expensive coffee. But the truth? One of the most powerful platforms on Earth, a platform that reshaped elections, friendships, relationships, and even democracy itself, was born inside a cramped Harvard dorm room at 2 in the morning. And at the center of it all was a socially awkward, sharp-tongued genius. His name, Mark Zuckerberg. This is not just a story about technology. This is about betrayal, about obsession, about what happens when you mix ambition with genius and sprinkle in just enough arrogance to ignite a war. And like every great story, it starts with a girl. Scene: Harvard, October 2003. Mark types furiously on his laptop, frustrated, muttering to himself. He's just been dumped. The rejection burns. Instead of sleeping, he starts coding. Lines of C++ pour across the screen like anger turned into electricity. If they won't let me in their club, I'll build my own. If she thinks I'm invisible, I'll create something the whole world can't ignore. What he didn't know that night was that his pain would become the seed of a platform now worth hundreds of billions of dollars. Lines of code began to flow, each one faster than the last. The idea was simple but dangerous. A website that rated students, compared them, exposed them. A social experiment wrapped in digital mischief, FACEMASH, that was the name. Within hours, I had pulled together photos, profiles, and created a system where anyone could vote. It was crude, it was controversial, and it was addictive. By midnight, the first wave of students found the site. Traffic exploded. Emails flooded my inbox. Some congratulated me, others called it hacking. I barely slept. The thrill of watching the numbers climb was intoxicating. Then came the knock at the door. The Harvard administration. My heart raced. I had broken rules. Privacy was violated. I expected anger, maybe suspension. Instead, they asked questions. A lot of them. Did you hack the servers? Did you mean any harm? I lied. Half-truths, evasions, casual charm. Inside I knew this was just the beginning. The spark had been lit. The next day, word spread. Students whispered in the dorms. Some cheered, some sneered. The system worked. People were engaged. People were hooked. And I felt unstoppable. But ambition is a dangerous companion. Just as I was celebrating my small victory, a message appeared. 2 names I would never forget, Cameron and Tyler Winklevoss. They approached me with an idea. Harvard Connection, a social network for Harvard students. They wanted me to help them. But my mind was already elsewhere. I had tasted the thrill of creating something mine. I can do this better, I whispered to myself. Little did I know, the decisions I made in these first sleepless nights would echo across years, friendships, and lawsuits. What started as a petty experiment would become a global phenomenon, changing the way humans connect forever. The clock ticked past 3 a.m. I leaned back, rubbing my eyes. This was not just coding. This was war. The war for social dominance, for attention, for influence, and I had just raised my first flag. Part 2. Building the Empire. By early 2004, Harvard was buzzing with whispers about the Facebook. I had convinced Eduardo Savarine, my roommate and friend, to invest in the project. He put up the initial funds for servers, domain registration, and a tiny office space. Mark, are you sure this is worth it? He asked one night. as we sat in the dim glow of the computer screens. I looked at him, calm and determined. Eduardo, this isn't just a site, this is the future. And if we do it right, we could change the world. The site launched quietly at first. Only Harvard students had access, but within days, the number of registered users skyrocketed. Requests for invitations flooded in. Everywhere I looked, there was excitement, curiosity, a hunger for connection. Yet the more successful we became, the more strained our partnership grew. Eduardo, cautious and methodical, worried about expenses and legal boundaries. I, obsessed with growth, pushed boundaries without hesitation. One evening he confronted me. Mark, I'm worried. We're moving too fast. The servers, the privacy issues, the lawsuits. What if we lose control? I barely looked up from my screen. Eduardo, control is the illusion of the weak. We need to grow. If we hesitate, someone else will build what we can't see yet. By mid-2004, I began expanding beyond Harvard, Yale, Columbia, Stanford. Soon we had thousands of active users across the country, and with each new campus, our reach grew. Our influence expanded. The Facebook was no longer a dorm project, it was a movement. But with opportunity came danger. The Winklevoss twins accused me of stealing their idea. Legal threats came in, letters, lawyers, and tension. At the same time, Eduardo began feeling sidelined. He still believed in the project, but our vision for the company was diverging. And then came Sean Parker, the former Napster co-founder, charismatic, persuasive, dangerous. He saw our potential immediately. One late night, he leaned across the table and whispered, "Drop the. Just call it Facebook. Cleaner, bigger, more powerful. You're sitting on something that can be bigger than anything you've imagined." I listened, intrigued, and for the first time I felt a spark of the kind of ambition that would define the next decade of my life. Sean's presence was intoxicating. He exuded confidence, risk, and vision, everything I wanted to be. With Sean's guidance and Eduardo's funding, we moved the company to Silicon Valley. Investors lined up. Money poured in, offices grew, employees multiplied. But amidst the whirlwind of success, the cracks widened. Eduardo's shares were diluted, friendships strained. Betrayal lingered in the air like a shadow. Every decision now carried weight. Every code deployment, every negotiation, every handshake could define the trajectory of the empire we were building. I remember one night sitting alone in the empty office, staring at the glowing screen. "Is this worth it?" I whispered. My reflection in the monitor stared back, determined, unflinching. Yes, it was worth it, because ambition, once ignited, cannot be extinguished. And the Facebook was about to become something the world had never seen. Part 3, Conflicts and Expansion. By late 2004, Facebook had exploded beyond Harvard. Our servers strained under the weight of new users. Offices in Palo Alto buzzed with activity. Employees typed furiously. Phones rang incessantly. And the company felt like a living, breathing organism. Yet, the closer we got to success, the wider the cracks in our relationships grew. Eduardo Saverin, my once trusted friend and co-founder, began to feel invisible. Every decision I made seemed to edge him out. One afternoon, he confronted me. "Mark, I put everything into this. My money, my time, and now it feels like I'm just a spectator." I looked him in the eye. "Eduardo, this isn't about friendship. It's about building an empire. If you want safety, there are easier paths. But this is history." He didn't respond. The tension between us was palpable, and I knew then that friendships would have to be sacrificed. Sometimes ambition demands blood. Meanwhile, Sean Parker had fully entered the picture. His charisma attracted top talent, investors, and media attention. He pushed us to grow faster, think bigger, risk everything. "Mark, he said one night, leaning back in his chair. "You're sitting on a gold mine, but don't get comfortable. People are going to try to take it from you. Don't let anyone slow you down. Not Eduardo, not the Winklevoss twins, not even me." And he was right. The Winklevoss twins escalated their lawsuit, claiming I had stolen the idea for Harvard Connection, emails, subpoenas, depositions. Each letter was like a punch to the gut. But I kept moving, focused on the code, on the platform, on growth. Distraction was death in the world we were building. At the same time, Eduardo's frustration boiled over. He threatened legal action, citing dilution of his shares and unfair treatment. The one person I trusted most in the company was now on the other side. I spent sleepless nights drafting memos, negotiating with lawyers, while simultaneously ensuring our servers didn't crash, our users stayed happy, and our vision for Facebook remained uncompromised. Through it all, Sean whispered his advice: "Power favors the bold. Don't apologize, don't compromise, build, grow, dominate." And so we did. Each campus, each city, each country, Facebook expanded at a pace no one anticipated. The platform was no longer just a social network. It was a statement, a force, a phenomenon. But inside me, the conflict raged. I could see the cost of ambition in Eduardo's eyes, in the tensions of the staff, in the legal threats from all sides. I wondered, was it worth it? The answer came not in calm reflection, but in action. Growth waits for no one. Friends, lawsuits, and moral qualms could not slow the march of an idea destined to change the world. By the end of 2005, Facebook had millions of users. Investors poured in millions of dollars. Offices expanded. The company was alive, unstoppable, and yet, the personal cost weighed heavily. I stared at the skyline of Palo Alto one night, lights twinkling like 1,000 opportunities. "This is only the beginning," I whispered. And deep inside, I knew the empire we were building would demand more sacrifices, more battles, and more cunning than I had ever imagined. Part 4: Lawsuits and Larger Than Life. By 2006, Facebook was no longer a college project. It was a global phenomenon. Users numbered in the tens of millions. Offices sprawled across Silicon Valley, and investors were throwing cash at us as if it grew on trees. But with great success comes great conflict. The Winklevoss twins' lawsuit escalated. They claimed I had stolen their idea, and their lawyers demanded millions. Every deposition was a chess match, a war of words, a test of nerves. I sat in conference rooms, hoodie on, calm, composed, while my blood boiled inside. Eduardo's case was brewing as well. My best friend, the first investor in Facebook, felt betrayed. The dilution of his shares was a knife in his back. He confronted me. "Mark, this isn't what we agreed on." "I trusted you." I paused, considering the weight of his words. "Eduardo, trust is a luxury in the world we're building. You wanted to be safe. I wanted to change the world." Meanwhile, Sean Parker pushed for aggressive expansion. "You have to think bigger," he said, leaning back with that mischievous grin. "Don't just be a social network. Be the social network. The world will follow you if you don't hesitate." And we didn't. We moved fast. We acquired new technology, hired engineers, negotiated with investors. Each step made Facebook larger, stronger, almost unstoppable. Yet inside, the personal cost grew heavier. Friendships strained beyond repair. My conscience fought a quiet war with my ambition. Could I truly balance loyalty and legacy? Every decision seemed like a gamble, a move that could create billions or destroy everything. Deposition after deposition, I learned the art of staying calm while storms raged around me. I learned how words could be weapons, how silence could be armor. Ambition demanded sacrifice, and I was ready to pay the price. By 2007, Facebook was worth billions. Investors were elated. The press hailed our genius. and users couldn't get enough. But in the quiet moments, I sat alone in my office, staring at the glow of the monitors, thinking, at what cost does greatness come? The lawsuits dragged on, settlements were reached, and our empire was solidifying. The Winklevoss twins received a settlement. Eduardo secured a part of his shares. The victories were bittersweet. The empire was real. But some friendships were forever fractured. Yet the world had taken notice. Facebook was now not just a platform. It was a global movement, influencing the way people connected, communicated, and shared their lives. And I knew deep in my bones, this was only the beginning. The decisions I made now would echo for decades. The lesson became clear. Ambition is relentless. Success is unforgiving. But if you have the vision, the drive, and the willingness to endure personal cost, the world will follow. Part 5. Legacy and Motivation. By 2010, Facebook had become a force of nature. Hundreds of millions of users, offices around the world, billions in revenue. What started as a small dorm room project was now a global empire. But the journey was never easy. Every victory came with sacrifice. Friends had been lost, lawsuits endured, and sleepless nights had become the norm. Eduardo's departure, the Winklevoss battles, the constant pressure from investors, all reminders that ambition is a double-edged sword. One night, I sat alone in my Palo Alto office, staring at the skyline. Lights shimmered like 1,000 possibilities. I whispered to myself, this is what it takes. This is what it means to build something the world will remember. Flashbacks played in my mind. The first line of code, the first users, the first investors, the bitter fights, the moments of doubt. Every step had been a test of will. Every decision a gamble. Sean Parker had once told me, power favors the bold. Don't apologize. Don't hesitate. Build, grow, dominate. I realized he was right. Growth waits for no one. Vision waits for no one. The world only rewards those who act, who risk, who dare to push boundaries beyond what anyone believes possible. In the quiet of that night, I thought about the lessons learned. Ambition is relentless. Trust is fragile. Vision plus execution equals impact. Facebook was no longer just a social network. It was a legacy, a testament to the power of an idea, nurtured with obsession, refined with intellect, and executed with unwavering determination. And as I looked toward the future, I whispered, if you want to change the world, you can't wait. You can't hesitate. You have to act. You have to sacrifice. You have to endure. And you have to believe in the vision that only you can see. The journey of Facebook was not just a story about technology. It was a story about courage, drive, and the human will to create something larger than oneself. The lesson is clear. Success is born from risk. Growth is born from action. And the world rewards those who dare to dream, execute, and persevere, even when the cost is high. The empire was built, the legacy secured, and the spark that began in a Harvard dorm room burned brighter than ever. You don't get to 500 million friends without making a few enemies, and without taking risks that define you forever.
That's all I can say, for now. Thanks for being here. I hope it kept you on the edge. Hit subscribe. This could be the last time we meet. New stories drop daily, if I make it to tomorrow.